Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. If your child is preparing for a music aptitude test for secondary school entry, you've probably heard a lot about stage 1. But what actually happens in stage 2? This is where many parents become very confused. That's because stage 2 can look very different depending on the school. Some schools use a performance assessment where your child performs a prepared piece in front of examiners. Other schools use an aural awareness assessment where children are tested on listening, memory, rhythm, melody, pitch, and musical understanding. And some schools may include elements of both. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly what stage 2 involves, what examiners are looking for, and how you can help your child prepare with confidence. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear from parents is this: my child loves music, so they'll probably be fine. While a love of music is wonderful, unfortunately, it's not enough on its own. Stage 2 isn't designed to measure how much your child enjoys music. It's designed to identify musical potential, musical understanding, and in some schools, musical performance under pressure. Every year, I see children with fantastic musical instincts struggle because they haven't prepared for the assessment format. And at the same time, I see children with less experience perform brilliantly because they've practiced the specific skills being tested. That's why understanding stage 2 is so important. Let's start with the performance assessment. If your child's school uses a performance assessment, they will usually be asked to perform a prepared piece lasting up to 3 minutes. That might sound simple, but remember, they are often performing in front of experienced directors of music and senior music staff who assess hundreds of children every single year. Many candidates will have had years of instrumental lessons. Some may play 2 or even 3 instruments. So what exactly are examiners looking for? Some schools assess 3 key areas: accuracy, musicality, and musical communication. Accuracy includes things like correct notes, secure rhythm, reliable tempo, and technical control. Musicality, however, includes dynamics, expression, phrasing, and musical shape. But musical communication is the area many families overlook. Examiners want to see confidence, character, engagement, a sense that your child understands the music they are performing, and perhaps, most importantly, musical storytelling. Can they bring the music to life? Can they communicate something meaningful through their performance? And here's something many parents don't realize: a technically perfect performance isn't always the highest scoring performance. Children who communicate emotion, character, and confidence often stand out far more than those who simply play every note correctly. Music is communication, and examiners want to see that. And now let's look at the aural assessment route. Many schools don't require a performance at all. Instead, they assess what musicians call aural awareness. This means testing how well the child can hear, remember, and respond to music. There is no notation, no written paper, no opportunity to prepare or rehearse your answers in advance. Everything happens in real time. Children listen, process what they heard, and respond immediately. There are 4 key areas that commonly appear. The first is pitch. Children may hear a short melody and be asked to sing it back. The examiner isn't judging the beauty of their voice. They are actually assessing whether your child can accurately hear and reproduce musical pitches. Before we continue, if you're wondering how to develop these skills systematically, that's exactly why we created the Music Aptitude Mastery course. Inside, children work through step-by-step training in pitch, melody, rhythm, texture, and listening skills. Everything is designed specifically around the requirements of the Music Aptitude Test across the UK. It's self-paced, easy to follow, and helps children build confidence long before assessment day arrives. You'll find the details in the description below. And now let's look at the second area, which is melody. Children listen to a sequence of notes and either sing it back or compare it with another melody. As the assessment progresses, the melodies often become longer and less predictable. This tests listening accuracy and musical memory. The third area is rhythm. Children may be asked to clap back rhythmic patterns. This tests concentration, memory, and of course, rhythm and pulse awareness. One common challenge is understanding the difference between pulse and rhythm. Pulse is the steady beat, and rhythm is the pattern of short and long sounds played over that beat. Strong candidates can keep the pulse steady in their minds while accurately reproducing the rhythm. And as the assessment progresses, those rhythmic patterns often become longer and trickier. The fourth area is texture, or sometimes called chords. In stage 1, texture or chords, sometimes also called harmony, was all about listening to a chord once and identifying how many notes were played at the same time, whether there were 2, 3, or 4 notes played within that chord. In stage 2, the examiner may play a chord and ask your child to identify or sing a specific note, perhaps the highest note or the lowest note, or sometimes even the middle note, which is often the trickiest. This requires careful listening because children need to separate individual sounds within the chord. Many children hear the chord as one single sound, but with training, they can learn to identify individual notes inside it. Texture questions appear regularly in stage 2 assessments and are often one of the deciding factors between average and exceptional candidates. Some schools also include additional listening and creativity tasks. For example, children may be asked to identify instruments from a short musical extract. They may need to name multiple instruments playing at the same time. Some schools ask children to repeat patterns on percussion instruments. Others include musical interaction or simple improvisation tasks. Parents often worry about improvisation, but examiners are not looking for future composers. They are simply looking for musical curiosity, confidence, and creativity, as well as the ability to respond naturally to sound. So why do some children find stage 2 so difficult? Because it feels very different from a normal school exam. There's no worksheet, no reading, no writing, and no time to carefully think or pre-rehearse your answers. Everything happens in the moment. Children must listen, process, and remember, as well as respond almost instantly. That's why passive listening isn't enough. Success comes from active musical engagement. The good news is that these skills can absolutely be trained. I've seen children make remarkable improvements through consistent practice, such as singing back melodies and clapping back rhythms, recognizing different textures and layers in sounds, and developing musical memory. These are not talents reserved for a lucky few. They're skills that can be developed over time. If your child is currently in Year 4 or Year 5, now is the perfect time to start building these skills. Our Music Aptitude Mastery digital course provides step-by-step training for both Stage 1 and Stage 2, helping children build confidence in pitch, melody, rhythm, texture, and musical listening and memorization. If you'd like to learn more, you'll find the link in the description below. I hope this video has helped you understand what Stage 2 really involves and why preparation matters so much. If you found it helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe for more music aptitude test advice and preparation tips. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I read every comment and I will do my best to help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.